I am back from seeing The Flash, and wait till you hear my review. Now, I already know there's going to be a lot of people out there who are going to just throw hate my way for what I'm about to talk about, and you're free to do it. I don't care. This is my honest review as the film. I have disassociated myself from the regime behind the film, and I have disassociated myself from what they've done with Cavill. And this is my honest review on the film, and it has not been tainted in any way by what the studio has done or what people around the people who played these characters has done. And I want to make that very clear before I do this review. Even if things were golden with the company, this is the review that you would get. All right? And I'm going to stay as spoiler-free as possible. There's a few things I'm going to mention. They're unavoidable. But they specifically told us in the theater they do not want us to spoil anything for anybody. And I don't want it to come back to me. I am growing my channel. And I want to eventually be one of those people that is able to go to these screenings way ahead of time without getting the tickets some special way like I did today. I want to be part of the press. I want to be one of those reviewers on YouTube where I am invited to go see movies early, and I am not going to ruin that by giving you a full spoiler review. Now, I will go a little more in-depth in some of this stuff in a more spoiler review, but I'm not going to get into the nuances of the film, and honestly, everything that happened in the film has already been spoiled, and here's my review on this, okay? First of all, Andy Muschietti, and he talked at the beginning of the film, and know that I did not see the final version of the film. This was the same version that was shown like a month back before they finished the special effects, apparently. And boy, do they really need to fix some of the special effects. There's one scene in particular I'm going to talk about that I thought was absolutely ridiculous and needs to be fixed. And he actually talked at the beginning with him and his sister, and it is Muschietti. So I'm going to call him Andy Muschietti going forward. I thought it was Muschietti. But Andy Muschietti is a brilliant director at comedy. This movie is a straight-up comedy, okay? It is not a superhero action flick the way they claimed it was going to be. And this movie honestly feels like the original version of Batman vs. Superman, where it feels cobbled together with no super cohesive narrative. It really feels like there was a lot missing. I mean, a lot. And I'm going to talk about, first, the cast. Then I'm going to talk a little bit about the music. And then I'm going to talk about a few of the things that happen in the film that you need to be aware about, that you need to be aware of. I really am questioning some of the decisions by Warner Brothers with the past behavior of what, what's his name has been going through Ezra. Why they did what they did in the film. And I'm going to talk about that. I want people to be aware of this particular thing before they go see the movie, because I think it's completely asinine that they put it in considering the allegations against him, okay? So let's talk about the cast first. The absolute best thing about this film, without question, is Michael Keaton back as Batman. This is the version of Batman I would have loved to have seen back in the 80s. Now, there is a scene with him doing some pretty cool action, and it's definitely reminiscent of what he did, some of the stuff he did in the 80s, but there's some new things in there. Now, it does not reach the level of what Ben Affleck did in the warehouse scene in Batman vs. Superman, but it was still pretty cool to see. And having him back was an absolute joy. But even there was a lot of comedy wrapped around him as well. And this is one of the things that is a problem with this film, is the comedy, because 90% of it is comedy, like straight-up comedy. Like, this is a comedy. There's no two ways to talk about it. It's a comedy. It needs to be billed as a comedy. And at the end, they try to get all emotional with you. And you go from this comedy trying to make it emotional, and it doesn't fit. It does not mesh. The hype on this movie is absolutely freaking overblown. I'm going to tell you right now, it is nowhere near as what people said. My last video where I talked about it being manufactured hype, this is definitely utter manufactured hype. There is no question about it. And I left the theater really kind of wondering how this was able to be released this way. Okay. The cast is amazing. Everybody does a great job. Sasha Calle, however you say her last name, she does a great job as Supergirl. We have Zod back, which seems, the whole thing with Zod just seems kind of like thrown in there just so you have a reason to do the ending. It's like they had to take something that everybody was familiar with to kind of kick off what they were going to do at the end of the film. And it was like shoehorned in there is what it felt like. It was very disjointed how they actually did this. And it was great to see everybody back. Now, I'm going to tell everybody right now, we didn't get to see any post-credit scenes, and we didn't even get to see the credits. So I don't know what's going to happen in the post-credit scenes. But I will tell you with what happens in the film, there is no Grant Gustin. How you don't have Grant Gustin in this movie, holy freaking crap. How do you have a Flash movie and you don't use the two guys, I would say both the guys, that have played the Flash? How do you not have them in the film? Again, it's another one of those questionable things by Warner Brothers. So, there are some Easter eggs, some pretty cool Easter eggs when you actually see all of the Speed Force people and they show you these things through the multiverse that everyone's talked about. I'm not going to tell you who was in there or what you see, but I'm going to tell you that everybody was CGI. It was not meant to look real. It had this very fake look to it, and everything looked similar as they went through everything. And so you didn't get like a crystal clear image of this. And I will tell you that I didn't even catch Cavill in there. I think I may have caught him as Clark Kent as a reporter in one of the things, but it's very quick in passing. So Henry Cavill is not in this movie at all. Okay? At all. At all. It's like completely devoid of Henry Cavill. I'm telling you right now, if you're going in there expecting to see Cavill, if you're expecting to see Grant Gustin, it's not going to happen. That's about as spoiler as I'm going to get on this. Now, a lot of people want to know, well, first of all, let me finish the thing, and I'm going to talk about whether this connects to the Snyderverse or not. But the actors all did an amazing job. The music, I couldn't even tell you who the composer was, because every time The Flash did something amazing, there was rock music playing. They decided to use old rock songs, not even amazing rock songs, not like things that are going to get you super pumped up. Generic rock songs, well, some of them were generic. Some were rock songs you will remember from the past. But I don't like it when they play music in movies like this. You're supposed to have an epic and emotional score. And this movie was devoid of that entirely. Every time something amazing happened, they'd play rock music. What the crap is that all about? Now let's talk about the questionable thing with Ezra Miller. Ezra Miller. There is full backside nudity with him in this film. So people need to be aware of that going to see it. There's a scene where he ends up naked in a neighbor's apartment. Again, how does Warner Brother do this with the allegations against him? And there's also a scene where he's wearing a woman's sweater. It's like they're promoting his behavior. And it was very, very not okay. So people be aware of that going into this. There's full backside nudity with him in this film. And I don't even think it was particularly funny. In fact, I think it went on for too long. And so it's like they're promoting this. I do not like that. That is not okay. Now, a lot of people want to know, does this match up with the Snyderverse? They don't tell you one way or the other. This is like a standalone movie where they don't acknowledge if it's coming from the Snyderverse. Well, not the Snyderverse. Obviously, it's from the Snyderverse. And at the beginning, it was cool to see some of the characters back I didn't expect to see in the film. But they don't tell you one way or another. All right? They don't tell you whether it connects to Zack Snyder's Justice League or not. And the lightning. You had the red lightning and the blue lightning, and it depended on whether he had Bruce Wayne's suit on or no suit on. When he has no suit on, it's blue. When he has a suit on, it's red, which does not make sense, okay? It just doesn't make sense. They don't even talk about how Bruce Wayne made him the suit. It was in the comic series, and that's how I'm going to connect this to Zack Snyder's Justice League, because there's definitely, I did a video on this in the past where they made definite confirmation in the prequel comic series that this does tie into Zack Snyder's Justice League specifically. So he does fricassee everything by obviously trying to change the timeline. So a lot of people also want to know, how does this change for the DCU going forward? Well, they definitely reveal that in the very final scene. There's a nice F word that is thrown out there. And you can tell that they are definitely changing everything. They're not making no bones about that. And they're laying the groundwork for that. So you could tell that they did cut out all the cameos with Henry Cavill's not in it at all. We've all heard about the scene with Batman and Wonder Woman. That is actually in the film. And it's one of those comedy moments. Like, they're not taking this seriously. It was very goofy and silly. I did not care for it at all. And the CGI, let's talk about the CGI here a little bit. For the most part, it's serviceable, okay? But my gosh, the beginning opening sequence with Batman is freaking amazing with Ben Affleck back as Batman. But there is a part of that where he is pulled off his bike and has to navigate his way through the traffic, all right? And we've seen in the trailer that scene where he's sliding off to the side. Well, there's way more to it than that. And it gets ridiculous. And it looks freaking horrible. It was the worst CGI in the film. I hope they fix that in the final version, but my gosh, was it ridiculous. So here's my review at the end of the day. Way too much comedy for me. Like, it is a straight up comedy. And then they try to make it emotional at the end, which you're trying to switch gears when you've made it a comedy the whole time. At the end of the day, out of 5 stars, I give this a solid 3 out of 5. I cannot give it more than 3. It is way too flawed. I would have preferred a more complete film, a more complete experience. This just seems like they were looking to make the audience laugh and bring back some nostalgia. That's the whole purpose of this film. It wasn't to do anything super meaningful. In fact, I honestly would say that this is disrespectful to the Flashpoint storyline. And this is not a knock on Andy Muschietti himself. Like, he did a good job with what he was doing, but he was doing a comedy. Like, he should be directing comedy. I do not want him directing Batman the Brave and the Bold. I do not want him going anywhere near it after seeing this. I just don't. So I'm very disappointed with the fact that they made it too much. 90% of it was comedy, 10% of it wasn't. And it's not my cup of tea, and it's not going to be a lot of other people's cup of tea. So do I think we need to support this to further the agenda of getting the story finished that we want? No, I don't think there's any reason to support this. I honestly don't. I'm only going to go see it one more time, and I really don't want to sit through it again. I don't. It was way too much comedy for me. But I'm going to go see it one more time when it does get released to see the final version, to see what the changes are. So there's my review on this, and I'm sorry I couldn't bring better news. It's ambiguous on the Zack Snyder's Justice League, and the way it ends definitely shows you that they are going in a different direction, and Ezra Miller will be staying on as the Flash. There's no question about it after this film. All right, so there's my review. I do appreciate the support. Let me know what you guys thought, and I will see you guys on the next video.